Egypt had pharaohs and pyramids. Mesopotamia had god-kings and ziggurats. But the third great civilization of the Bronze Age, the most widespread of them all, left behind no palaces, no royal tombs, and no monuments to any ruler. It built cities of 40,000 people with the world's first urban sanitation, ran them for 7 centuries, and then walked away. We can map its streets brick by brick. We cannot read a single word it wrote. This is the Indus Valley Civilization, and almost everything you assume about the dawn of civilization, it quietly breaks. For most of the last century, there was a tidy story about how this civilization ended. The textbook said invaders did it, Aryans who swept down from the north and put the great cities to the sword. It fit what everyone assumed about the ancient world. Civilization means kings, kings mean armies, and great cities die by conquest. Egypt and Mesopotamia taught us that pattern. Palaces, temples, royal tombs filled with gold, the fingerprints of power are usually the first things archaeology finds. So when excavators uncovered enormous planned cities on the Indus floodplain, the questions wrote themselves. Where is the palace? Where is the king? Who destroyed them? 100 years later, every one of those questions has come back with an answer nobody expected. Start with the scale, because the scale is the first shock. Harappan settlement stretched over 900 miles along the Indus River system, with sites reaching from Afghanistan to the coasts of India, the most geographically extensive of the world's 3 earliest civilizations. Its urban climax, the mature Harappan period, ran from roughly 2600 to 1900 BC, contemporary with Egypt and Mesopotamia. And these were not villages. Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are each thought to have held 40 to 50,000 people, among the earliest major cities on Earth. They were planned, streets run in grids. The bricks are fired, mortared, and mass-produced to consistent proportions, the same proportions, across a territory spanning 2 modern countries. Each major city splits in 2, a raised citadel at Mohenjo-daro, a mud brick platform some 12 meters high looming over a sprawling lower town. Someone decided all of this. We have no idea who. Here is the Harappan's signature achievement, and it is not a tomb or a temple. It is plumbing. Indus cities had the world's first known urban sanitation systems. Ordinary houses connected to covered drains built of kiln-baked brick, running beneath the major streets, a carefully planned network, engineered before anyone else on Earth had thought to try. Water was abundant, and it was private. Mohenjo-daro alone had over 700 wells, roughly one for every 3 houses. And at the heart of the citadel sits the most famous structure in the civilization, the Great Bath. A great public pool, steps descending into the water, the whole basin sealed watertight with bitumen. Hold that contrast in your mind. While its neighbors raised mountains of stone for their dead, the Indus built running water for the living. Now the paradox at the center of everything. Across that vast territory, archaeologists keep finding the same thing. Standardized stone weights, cut to a modular system so uniform that scholars conclude some central authority must have been able to set regulations for the entire civilization. Its commerce ran long range. Harappan goods and seals reached Mesopotamia and Oman, and at the coastal site of Lothal, excavators uncovered a dockyard complete with spillways, waterlocks, and loading platforms. This looks like an empire. It trades like an empire. It regulates like an empire. So where is the emperor? The cities yield no obvious palaces, no grand temples, no royal burials, no royal statuary, and remarkably little sign of organized warfare. The most famous sculpture from Mohenjo-daro is a bearded stone figure archaeologists call the Priest King. Here is the honest truth about that name. It is a guess. We do not know he was a priest. We do not know he was a king. Many scholars read the evidence as authority somehow distributed rather than centralized, a society strikingly egalitarian and peaceable by Bronze Age standards. But be careful. That is an argument from silence. We infer no kings, partly because we cannot read the texts that might name one. Because here the civilization goes silent. The Harappans wrote, or at least they made signs. Roughly 400 distinct pictographic symbols, carved into small stone seals and pressed into clay, One classic count identifies 419. Not one of them has been deciphered. Every tool that cracked Egypt or Babylon is missing here. There is no Rosetta Stone, no bilingual inscription. There is no known related language. And the inscriptions are almost impossibly short. The average is about 5 signs long. 5. That brevity feeds a deeper, stranger argument, still running in the journals. Is it writing at all? In 2004, 3 researchers argued the symbols may not encode language at all, that they are non-linguistic signs standing for families, clans, and gods. Computational linguists fired back. The sign sequences carry statistical structure closely matching real languages, like Sumerian. The skeptics replied that the method proves less than it seems, and that is where it stands today. We cannot answer the most basic question you can ask of a civilization, whether it is speaking to us at all. So who destroyed them? Nobody. The invasion story is dead, rejected by modern scholarship for a simple, devastating reason. The cities declined before the supposed invaders ever arrived. The killer was the climate. Around 1900 BC, the monsoon weakened. Rivers dried or shifted course. Flood and drought undermined the agriculture that fed 40,000-person cities. The trade with the West fell away, and the Harappans did the most undramatic thing imaginable. They dispersed east and south gradually over generations. No sack, no fire, no last stand. And that is the inversion because the myth needed conquerors to explain the silence. The truth is stranger. A civilization more widespread than Egypt or Mesopotamia, running cities with the world's first sanitation, apparently without pharaohs and without armies, that ended not with a sword but with the rain. Here is where the truth honestly stands. What came after the decline is the most contested question in the field. The scholarly mainstream holds that Indo-Aryan speakers migrated into the subcontinent between roughly 2000 and 1600 BC, after the cities had already faltered. A migration, not a conquest, a case built on linguistics, and recently, ancient DNA. A rival school rejects that reading entirely, and the debate has become entangled with modern politics. You should know that whenever you read about it, the script remains unread. Whether it is even language remains unresolved. Somewhere in those 400 signs may be the name of a king or proof that there never was one. Until someone cracks them, the largest civilization of the ancient world keeps its silence. If mysteries with their eyes open are your path, subscribe. There is much more to walk.